Well, we've made it to our 12th hero showcase, and we're going to deep dive into my personal favorite superhero on the roster. As always, this video is brought to you in partnership with Marvel and 2K. I want to start by sharing a quote from Avengers Volume 8, number 25. Everyone keeps telling me that I'm the worst Ghost Rider that ever lived. Like that's supposed to be some kind of insult. But what the hell have the Ghost Riders ever done, except bring misery to themselves and everyone they love? Except die alone or go bat crazy? Well, that's not me, Uncle Eli. That's not how I'm going out. To hell with being a spirit of vengeance. I'm an Avenger. I feel like this perfectly sums up this week's hero, not just in terms of personality, but also ties in very nicely with his playstyle. By now it's obvious, but this week's hero is Robbie Reyes, aka Ghost Rider. Now, Ghost Rider's playstyle is mostly focused on dealing major amounts of damage, but a lot of his cards have a trade-off that cost either his own health or cards in your hand. He also has his own souls meter to fill, and that encourages you to get knockouts with Ghost Rider himself. You'll also find that Ghost Rider operates best when he can spend a lot of heroism, so he'll pair best with heroes that generate heroism or have heals, since he'll be routinely damaging himself to fuel his damage output. Now, since Ghost Rider is my personal favorite, I'm going to take some liberties here, and I'm going to showcase more heroic abilities than usual. They're crazy strong, their animations are over the top, and their gameplay impacts are heavenly. Or should I say, heavenly. No, probably not. We'll start with one of his skills called Immolate that doesn't have a trade-off of health or cards, but it does act as a great setup for follow-up attacks. Immolate makes it so that enemies KO'd by Ghost Rider for the next 2 turns become ticking time bombs and explode in an AoE around them for extra damage. On upgrade, the damage is doubled, and I'd like to point out here that it's generating above average heroism as well, something that Ghost Rider will absolutely utilize later in the fights. Earlier I mentioned that you'll want to get KOs with Ghost Rider to build his souls meter, so let's explain a little bit about how that's going to work. Each knockout will increase his souls meter by 1 block. Once it's full, you'll automatically draw a Drain Soul card. Now, Drain Soul cards have Chain 2, they're lifesteal cards, and they have this hellish stacking capability. Each time a Drain Soul card is played, it'll give all Drain Soul cards an extra chain attack, but it's also going to increase the heroism cost requirement too. The idea here is to get as many knockouts as possible with Ghost Rider, keep filling that meter, keep buffing Drain Soul, and soon you'll be chaining every enemy across the map while keeping your health up with lifesteal. This can also be buffed with Hunter Friendship levels. At level 1, filling the souls meter will buff Ghost Rider's health by 15%, and at level 2, it's going to reduce the number of souls required to fill the meter by 1. Now keep in mind, you can only trigger the health buff twice per battle, so plan accordingly. Okay, it's heroics time. Now here's one of the cards that does have a big health trade-off for Ghost Rider. Judgment is going to consume 25% of Ghost Rider's current health, and it's going to damage an enemy and everything nearby at a rate of 2 damage for every health that you trade it. So keep in mind with some of the previous things we've already discussed, as his health goes higher, you're going to have more health to trade for cards like this. The upgrade for this card is nice because it makes your positioning decisions a little bit easier. Instead of hitting everything with the nearby damage, it will only impact enemies. This next heroic card could easily have been a Midnight Sun's golden heroic ability, in my opinion. But for Ghost Rider, I guess everything he does is awesome. Hellride is just one ability that stuck with me from the early preview event I did many months back, just for how over the top it is. When casting Hellride, Ghost Rider's gonna summon his ride from the depths, and he runs over every enemy in a line for major damage. The trade-off, however, it could hurt. After playing Hellride, your entire hand will be discarded. Obviously, get creative with your timing here, and it can be less of a problem or potentially no problem at all if it's the last card in your hand. The upgrade for Hellride is pretty nice too. It just gives you more damage, and you could get late game mods that add other status effects. In this case, you're seeing you can apply vulnerable to every enemy that you hit as well. Last but certainly not least is Ghost Rider's Midnight Sun's heroic ability. Penance Stare is similar in nature to Judgment. It's got a bunch of extra hellfire behind it. Penance Stare will consume 50% of Ghost Rider's health to target an enemy, and this time is going to deal 4 damage per health consumed. In addition, it's also going to fill your souls meter, granting you a drained soul card, of course, and we've already talked about how powerful those could become. But because of all of this, Penance Stare does have exhaust, so use it wisely. In an ideal scenario, when you're on empty souls, for hellish efficiency, of course. So that's it. That's Ghost Rider. We've now covered all of the announced heroes on the roster for Midnight Suns. So who's up next? A lot of guesses flying around. You'll have to stay tuned to find out, but have no fear. We'll return with a 13th hero very soon, including details on how you'll unlock them. There's been a lot of juicy details dropped on the social channels about the Legendary Edition and the game's DLC, so check those out if you haven't already. Thanks again to Marvel and 2K for working with me on this series. I've had a blast with it so far, and I can't wait to bring you the 13th hero very soon. Check out the links down below for all things Marvel's Midnight Suns, and we will see you again shortly. Cue the Hulk scream.